personal safety and sexuality. And then we also provide trainings to the parents, teachers, and trainers, and all the professionals with children with disabilities. So providing the resources and providing the training and creating creating awareness and sensitization towards sexuality education. That is what we do in Project Suvidha. Okay, so let's start with our subject, with our topic for the day: sexuality and disability, or sexuality education for children with disabilities. I'll be just reading out a few statements which you see, which are there on the screen, and I will let you understand them, think about them, and think whether what you feel about them, what you know about it, whether you feel that statements which I'm making, they are correct or they are wrong, or partly correct, partly wrong. So let us read through them. So this is about fact or fiction, so myths or beliefs around sexuality and disability. This is regarding children and regarding adolescents also. The first statement is: people with disabilities, including children, they do not have sexual needs. They do not have sexual feelings, or they do not feel the desire to engage in sexual activities. So if they are disabled in one way, so they are disabled in every way. So the need or the feeling, the sexuality feeling is not at all there. That is the first statement. What do you feel about it? What do you think about it? The second one says,
ma'am, can you excuse me? Can you put the full screen, please?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is it visible now? Okay, so yes, the second statement, thank you. The second statement says people with developmental and intellectual and physical disabilities, they are asexual. They're asexual, they are childlike, sexually innocent, and they do not possess the maturity or the cognition or the understanding to learn about sexuality. That is why they don't need sexuality education. They are asexual beings. They don't have the feelings, they don't have the desire to have sex. That is the second statement. Is it true? Is it partly true? Is it false? What do you think? The next one. This is also this is also a myth or a fact. We don't know. We'll discuss about all these during this talk. People with disabilities are sexually impulsive. We might have seen some movies where people who are like who have intellectual disabilities, they are shown that they are very, very sexually impulsive, hypersexual. They will attack women. They are oversexed and they are unable to control their sexual urges. So either they are asexual or they are hypersexual. Men will be aggressive and women might be promiscuous. This is also a statement. What do you think? Is it true? Is it false? Another statement. It says people with disabilities, when they grow up, when they are adults, they will not marry. They will not be able to find partners. They will not be able to have sexual relationships or have children. That is why do they need sexuality education? There is no need to provide sexuality education to these people because they will not get married, they will not have children, so they don't need the sexuality education. They don't need to know about sexuality. This is also a very common myth that is there in the society. It's a myth. So whatever you think, you maybe the first, second, third, and fourth statements, you can type out your responses in the chat box, and let's see what you think about this. All right. So okay. So, all right. So what is sexuality? So sexuality. When I say the word sexuality, or when I say the word sex, when you hear the word sex, what is sexuality? What is the first reaction that we feel? What is the first reaction? The first reaction of most of us when we hear this word is discomfort. And then there is silence. We don't talk about it. We start thinking about it. We don't respond immediately. We don't react immediately. If I pose this question to you, what is sexuality? What is sex? The first feeling is, no, you won't feel comfortable talking about it. Even you might know something, but you won't feel, no, you won't feel that the confidence to talk about it. That is the attitude, or that is the feeling that is there amongst all of us. We have been conditioned in such a way that we don't feel comfortable about sexuality at all. We don't feel comfortable about talking about it. We don't feel comfortable about knowing about it, or seeking information about it. We as adults, we are not comfortable with it. We are hesitant, we are embarrassed. So how will we able to talk about it, or how will we be able to educate our children about sexuality and the sexuality etiquettes when we ourselves don't feel comfortable? Isn't it? So that is a challenge. It is a challenge. We all agree that it is a challenge, and then yes, we need to work on it. We ourselves need to work on it first. We as adults need to work on our attitudes, our beliefs, our understanding, our comfort with the topic, and then approach the children, or then educate the children and support them in understanding and learning the basics. So what is sexuality? The first thing that comes to our mind is sexuality is sex. Is it so? Is it just that small part? Yes, of course, sex is a part of sexuality, but it is a very, very small part of sexuality. Sexuality is about one's sexual feelings, thoughts, attractions, and behaviors towards other people. Sexuality is how we understand our own bodies, how we understand our relationships with other people, how we behave, how we talk, how we walk, how we dress up, or the roles we play. The roles we play as a parent, educator, as a male and a female, as a man or a woman. That is our sexuality. So the sexuality involves our biological, psychological, physical, emotional, erotic, social, and spiritual feelings, and a lot of behaviors which are associated. And it is a part of our being. It is a part of every human being. It cannot be separated from our personality or from ourselves. That is what sexuality is. So, just a moment, yes. And what is comprehensive, when we talk about comprehensive sexuality education for our children? What is that? What is comprehensive sexuality education? So comprehensive sexuality education is a lifelong process that encompasses many things: the biological, social, cultural, psychological, spiritual dimensions of sexuality. It incorporates all these dimensions. And for our children, the potential areas of education, it includes understanding about our body, understanding about human growth, understanding about the development of children, about body changes which happens, and about puberty. So when puberty happens, what are the changes which occur in the body, emotions, behaviors, psychological changes, social changes, all that have to be understood by us, and then it has to be taught to the children as well. And then the second one is learning about sexual abuse, learning about personal safety, about our own safety, how to keep ourselves safe from any kind of sexual abuse. Then understanding and managing our sexual feelings, like masturbation, and then about sexual orientation. So there might be some children who might be non-binary. They might have a non-binary sexual orientation. They might not identify themselves as males or females, as a boy or a girl. They might identify themselves as others. So that also is a part of sexuality education for those children who feel that they are different from a boy or a girl, from a male and a female. So that is also a part of sexuality education. So then something is okay. So why do we, now we are talking about sexuality education. So why do we need sexuality education? We understand that it's required, but why do we need it? When we say we all believe in this, the right to safety and dignity for all individuals, and the right to a life of safety and dignity for our children also. So every child, irrespective of their abilities or their disabilities, they have they have the right to a life of safety and dignity. It is their fundamental right. And then, so for this, personal safety education is also their right. So why do we need personal safety education? We need personal safety education for prevention and early reporting of sexual abuse if it happens. So for that, every child or adolescent and every individual needs personal safety education. And then for navigating puberty and sexuality with dignity. When the children are growing up, when they reach adolescence, the lack of information on how to handle sexual desires when they are growing up during adolescence, that if they lack the information, they may put them at risk to inappropriate behaviors and expose them to risks. So they might have some inappropriate behaviors, they might be unsafe for others, or they might themselves do something which is unsafe for others and expose them to risk. So to be able to navigate puberty and sexuality with dignity, for that we definitely need sexuality education. And also we need this for acceptance and inclusion. When we equip our children with the proper skills and the information so that they learn socially acceptable behaviors. If the children learn this, we can support them to be accepted and included in the society. If the children have a lot of socially unacceptable behaviors, it will be difficult for the society to accept them, to include them as a part of themselves. So for that as well, we require our children to have the skills and the information to conduct themselves in socially appropriate ways. So that is the requirement. Now I would like to talk about a few challenges that we as parents and educators we face with the topic of sexuality and dealing with our children. So what do we do? What are the challenges? Why do we feel so challenged while dealing with our children or while educating them? So the first point that you see here, many of us might assume that we have so many other things to do. There are larger concerns looming in our lives. There are so many things, there are so many skills that we have to work on with our children. I have to take care of my family, so many responsibilities, and I feel discomfort. I don't feel confident about talking about sexuality, so I try to avoid it. There's so many other things we focus on skilling our children. We focus on academic skills, we focus on gross motor, fine motor, communication skills, social skills, so many skills. So sexuality education, I don't feel comfortable about it. What do I say? How do I talk to my child? All because of all these reasons, we keep postponing it. And especially children, especially parents and parents of children who are young, we feel that, okay, when they grow up, when the body changes start happening, then we'll deal with this. Right now, I'm focused on so many other skills. So we start late. And then there is so much silence around the topic of sexuality. It is a social taboo. It is a social taboo, and there are so many myths and beliefs around people with disabilities and sexuality. So because of all these, yes, we postpone it. We are able to handle it. We are able to educate our children on the basics. Then apart from this, Parents who are like very aware, they want to educate their children, they want to train their children, but they lack the information. They feel ill-equipped and they don't have the resources or the professional guidance to teach the children. I deal with a lot of parents and teachers, and everyone, they have this basic question. Yes, ma'am, I know it is very much important to teach our children this very, very important life skill. But where do I start? What all can I teach? And how can I teach? So this is a big question for all of us. And then personal safety and sexuality education is not at all a part of life skills curriculum in schools, whether it is mainstream schools or schools with disabilities. Personal safety and sexuality education is not at all in the curriculum, but it is an extremely important part of the life skills education of every individual, be it a mainstream child, a child who is neurotypical, or a child with disability. Without this, a personality is not complete. Without this, the life skills education is not complete. And then I spoke about this. Yes, so sexuality education, I get requests from a lot of schools or parents of children or children who have reached the adolescence. So grown-up children, parents of grown-up children, or schools where they have these sections with the vocational training centers, or where they have adolescents. They reach out to us. Please conduct these sessions for the parents, because they have adolescents and they are facing a lot of challenges, a lot of behaviors which they are unable to handle. And all these behaviors are like sexual in nature, so they are unable to handle it. So when the pubertal issues emerge, then we start looking for answers, then we start seeking answers. But it's like a child of 14 or 15 years of age is not able to manage their sexuality. They don't understand the clothing rules. They don't understand the touching rules. Or they are self-stimulating themselves in public, masturbating in public. So if we start the education at that age, they have missed out on a lot many years where they could have been educated. So if we start early, the best way is to start as early as possible, so that once they are adolescents, they have acquired the skills and they are able to manage their sexuality. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay, even if we have not done it. Even wherever our child is, whatever is their age, we can start right from there. Whether they are grown-ups, whether they are young children, start right away. So I just wanted to talk about these points, because these are the various points which parents share with us. If there are anything else, any other challenges that you face as parents and special educators, you can type it out in the chat box as well. I can take it up later on when there is some time. All right. So, yes. So why is personal safety education important? To reduce the risk of sexual abuse for all children, not just children with disabilities, for children of all abilities. On this, in this slide, I have just mentioned this study on child abuse in 2007. It was done so long back, and after that, there has not been a comprehensive study later on. So this was done by the Ministry of Women and Child Development, by Government of India. And in this study, what came out was, the facts and figures that came out was that 53% of the children, when they were interviewed, they reported that they had faced some kind of sexual abuse. So 53% is a very, very alarming number. 53% means every other child has faced some kind of sexual abuse. And this was not children with disabilities. These were children in the mainstream. So, and amongst these, the majority were boys. It was so surprising. We feel that the girls are more prone, they are higher at risk. But when the study was done, the majority, 57% of the children were boys who reported sexually abuse, that they have faced some kind of sexual abuse. 57% were boys. Majority were boys. And when it comes to children with disabilities, the risk is 4 to 10 times higher. Our children with disabilities are at greater risk. And the degree increases with the degree of disability. The more severe the disability, the degree of disability is, even if that is more, the risk increases. And whether the children or people are living at home, whether they are living in a semi-supported environment, or they are living in an institution, the risk is everywhere. It is independent, independent of where they live. And why is that? Because over 90% of the time, the offender, the abuser, or the perpetrator is a known person, is a known, trusted, and regularly encountered person, a person who is familiar with the child, who is in our own circle. So over 90% of the time, it is a person who is known, who can be a family relative, it can be a friend, it can be a neighbor, or somebody who's very familiar with the child. So if a person who is known to the child is trusting the person, if that person turns an abuser, so the abuse can happen anywhere. It can be in our homes. Many of the parents, I have worked with, they say, no, ma'am, my child is not at risk. I shadow him or her everywhere. Wherever they go, I take him with me and I don't leave him out of sight. Sorry. But is it possible to do that 24/7? Is it possible to keep an eye on your child 24/7? And if the person is in your house, in your vicinity, somebody known to you, it is very difficult to reduce the risk. It is very much possible. Risk is always there. So this is a fact. That is why we need to support our children in understanding personal safety rules. We have to empower them. We have to support them in learning skills so that they can recognize, they can resist, and they can report if any kind of abuse is happening to them. So recognizing is something wrong is happening to them. That is the first challenge for our children. The understanding has to be there. So recognizing, resisting. Resisting means saying no, stop, trying to resist at least, saying no, don't do this, don't do, stop, at least doing this. And then reporting. Most important is the reporting part. Most of the children, whether they are with disability or with they are non-disabled children, they are unable to report because of various reasons. So even if the children understand that something wrong is happening to them, they might not report it. There are so many reasons. For our children, the reasons are different, but still it happens. So reporting is very, very much important. We have to teach our children to talk to us, to report, or to tell us if something has happened to them. And how can that be possible? How will the children do this? Only if they feel safe, if they feel understood, and if they have that kind of openness and confidence in you, that if I tell my mother, if I tell my teacher, they will believe me. If they have that belief in you, then only they will talk to you. Then only they will report. That is a very, very much important point where we adults need to have that kind of relationship with our children, that they feel safe, supported, and they have the confidence and belief in us that whatever I tell my parent or my teacher or my trainer, they will believe me. They will understand me. They will not judge me. They will not shame me. They will not make me feel guilty of something which I have not done. Whenever it comes to a case of sexual abuse like rape, even with grown-ups, Who is the first victim? Who is the one who is blamed? Who is the first person to be blamed? It's the victim itself. Why did you go there? Why did you go out at night? Why were you wearing such kind of clothes? Why did you talk to a stranger? The first person to be blamed or questioned is the victim, which is a very, very wrong attitude. So we need to shift this kind of blaming the victim to shifting the blame and shame to the perpetrator. It is the abuser, it is the perpetrator who has to be blamed. That has to come in our own understanding, in our own thinking. We have to change that. We have to change that mentality. All right. So yeah, okay. So a few common socially inappropriate behaviors of children. So these we come across as parents, as parents and educators. So whenever we see these behaviors, we feel that no, I need to teach my child. There is something where I need to intervene. So there might be cases where it is a small, either a younger child or even happens with grown-up children who don't understand the clothing rules. They might undress themselves, they might expose their private parts. If they have to go to the toilet, they will take out their pants outside, or they might come out of the toilet without zipping up their pants, with their pants down. So exposing their private parts in public, that is a very, very common behavior, which is seen, or which we come across with our children. Then it can be pulling down of others' clothes, or it can be grabbing of others' clothes. Like a lot of teachers face this problem with their students, that they grab the dupatta, they grab the blouses, they grab the sari, they just grab it. The children, they don't understand that it is something which I need not do. So grabbing others' clothes to expose their private parts or touching their private parts, that is also very common behavior which is seen amongst children. Then they might be even youngsters or grown-up children. They will know if there is any itching, or they feel that their underclothes or undergarments or panty or underpants are not fitting. They try to adjust that in public. This is not a public behavior. They are unable to understand that it is a private behavior. So they do that in public. Then the next one is amongst adolescents. It is touching their genitals, touching their private parts, self-stimulation or masturbation in public. In the class, it can happen at home, touching themselves, putting their hands inside pants to touch themselves, or touching themselves over the pants also. It is very common, both in boys and girls. More common in boys, but yes, it happens in girls also. So all these issues are not gender specific. These happen with both boys and girls. Then there can be hugging or kissing a stranger, and then touching others inappropriately, saying something inappropriate in public. That can happen. This can happen mostly with children with autism. Our children with autism, they don't understand the social behaviors or the social interaction. They have challenges there. So they might say something which is inappropriate. They might say something inappropriate in public, and the parents or the teachers might feel embarrassed when they do that. Or being overly familiar with an acquaintance. So understanding all these personal boundaries. So all these so-called problematic behaviors indicate that our children, they have a very limited understanding about privacy. They don't have the understanding of what is private, what is public, what is a private place, what is a public place, what are private and public behaviors, and then the private parts of the body, and what are the general parts of the body. And then they don't understand the personal boundaries that they have to follow with the others. And then they might also not understand what is safe and unsafe also. So because of all these issues, it is very, very much important that we start skilling our children at a very young age, and we take up all these goals as goals to teach. In our IPs also, in schools, at home also, we can take all these goals and teach them. So just a few points to share as to why our children are at higher risk, and they might be targets of any kind of sexual abuse. So they don't have understanding of what is what is sexuality, and they don't have sexual and personal safety literacy. They don't understand the rules, personal safety rules. If someone touches them inappropriately, they don't understand that it's wrong. They might not understand. And then there might be some unique aspects of their disability. They might not be able to communicate, they might not be able to understand, or they might not be able to say no to the person. Children with physical disabilities, they might not be able to resist. So because of unique aspects of disability, they are at a higher risk. Um, and then um, and then lack of socializing our children. We as parents, as parents of children with special needs, and our children, we have a very small social circle. We have very few friends. We don't visit our relatives or friends. So the children get less exposure, and they get less exposure to other people, and they seek affection. Our children are very affectionate. They seek affection. So since they are like living in a small social circle, whenever they get to know a person, whenever a person comes to them and makes them feel accepted, makes them feel friendly and loving, who is loving, so the children will involuntarily believe the other person, start trusting the other person. The other auntie, some particular auntie or uncle loves me so much. So what if the other person is abusing them? They will not understand. They might not understand. And and our children, we teach all our children, not just the children with disability, but all our children, that obey your elders, respect your elders. So the children have learned to passively obey their adults. So whatever the adults tell us to do, I have to do it. If I don't do, I'll be punished. If I don't do, my elder will be angry with me, will be upset with me. So to please the adult, I have to do it. So because of this, the perpetrators of sexual abuse, the abusers, they take advantage of the children who are so innocent and they don't understand, and they are blindly trusting their adults. Because of this nature also, they are at higher risk. So because of all these points, because of all these reasons, are children at a higher risk. So is it that it's the fault of the children that they are at higher risk? Is it their fault? No, it's not the fault of the children. It's the fault of the abuser, of the perpetrator. Keeping a child safe, is it the responsibility of a child, or is it the responsibility of the adult? Safety of a child is the responsibility of all the adults. It is a community responsibility. It is the responsibility of everyone who is there in the child's environment. There's a saying which says that it takes a village to raise a child. For our children, it takes a community to raise a child, to make the child feel safe. So children's safety is our responsibility. If they don't understand the safety rules, if they don't understand the sexuality rules, it's not their fault. They have certain challenges, they have certain limitations. We have to accept that. It is our duty as parents, as teachers, as elders, that we need to teach them, we need to skill them give them the proper skills and the informations to make them able to understand and support them in learning all these basics. So it's our it's our responsibility, it is our duty to teach our children in the way that they learn. Every child with a disability, they learn in a different way. And this is very true for children with autism and children with intellectual disability or cognitive disabilities. Every child learns in a different way. So we have to teach the children in the way that they learn, and using their likes and dislikes and using their strengths. When we have a child with disability, our focus is so much on the disability, on what they can't do, that we lose focus of what abilities they have. what they can do. So our focus has to be on their abilities, on what they can do, what they like. Appreciate that. Focus on the ability and teach them or support them in learning or in whatever the limitations are. Work on their limitations through their abilities. That is one skill that we all need to have. That. All right. So teaching a child in the way that they learn, whether it is a young child or it is an adolescent child, whatever they like, what is their strength. So accordingly, use that to teach them the skills that they need to learn. That is what we all have to do. And all this has to be done with a lot of understanding, compassion, empathy, and bonding. That has to be developed between the child and the parent or the teacher. The child and the elder need to have that kind of trust and a relationship which will aid in supporting both of them in their learning and in their education and in this way. The next point that I would be talking about is sexuality in people with disabilities. So how does the development take place? So I'll be sharing the slide. So now I've been speaking about this, and we need to understand that sexuality is a normal part of growth and development of every individual. Sex is a basic physiological need of every human. Just like other basic survival needs like food, water, shelter, sleep, warmth or excretion, sex is also a basic need. And all these basic needs have to be fulfilled in order for an individual to achieve optimal physical and mental health. For a person to have a right and optimal mental and physical health, even the sexual needs have to be fulfilled. We all have to understand that individuals with disabilities have similar sexual needs, sexual fantasies, feelings, desires, and need for intimacy as the neurotypicals. There's a myth which says that people with disabilities are asexual, or they don't have the need or fantasies or the desire to have sex. No. Every individual, people with disabilities also have the same feelings. But there might be exceptions. There might be exceptions which might depend on the particular kind of disability. But otherwise, it is normal and natural part of development of every individual. And our teenagers, they develop sexually in the same way as other teenagers. They will have the same challenges as the other teenagers. But the difference lies here in the expression that our children have. Children who are neurotypicals or teenagers who are neurotypicals, they can manage their sexuality because they are able to learn from the environment. They interact with their environment. They look at their elders. They learn from their peers and the environment. They can seek information, and accordingly they manage their behaviors and their needs. Even they do, they make mistakes or they learn by making mistakes, but generally they learn on their own. Most of them, they do not require intense skilling or intense education. But children with disabilities, all our children with disabilities, especially intellectual disabilities, they require direct intervention, direct and active teaching from our side. They have to be taught about this because they don't learn from their environment automatically. It is not a learned behavior. They have to be taught. It has to be intentionally taught to them. So if they are not taught, if we have not equipped them with the right skills, they might express their sexuality in inappropriate ways, which we have already talked about, all the inappropriate behaviors. And all our children, as I have already spoken, they have the same rights and they have the same rights of education and accurate information with respect to sexuality education. And our children need more extra help. They need extra help, extra support to build all the social skills. So to mature, to learn the social skills, they need extra support and extra help from our side. And we have to understand that the educational intervention, educational plan for our children has to be modified and it has to be individualized. So that is why we have IEPs. We have individualized educational plan for our children. So even if I teach you the basics of sexuality education, even if I provide you the sexuality education curriculum and the topics, but how to teach it to every child will differ according to their functional level, their cognitive level, and their likes and dislikes. So the IEPs for personal safety and sexuality education also has to be individualized. We'll give you the tools, we'll give you the teaching aids, we'll teach you what to teach, but how to teach to one child, to a child, B child, C child, that will differ. The parents will know their child best. They know that this is the way my child understands. I will teach it to him or her like this. The teachers know their children. They know the functional level of the child. They know what the child is interested in, what the child does not like. So accordingly, they can modify the plan for every child in their class. This is what is different for our children. But the needs, the educational needs is the same for children of all abilities. Okay. So anything else? Anybody would like to share anything that you agree with me or disagree with me? Anybody who disagrees on anything, you can please feel free to express that. You can type it out in your chat. All right. So I'm having a little bit of difficulty when the PPT is getting stuck. All right, so now let us learn what is personal safety education. Personal safety education, for personal safety education, as I have already spoken, it is a part of the life skills education. It is a part of the life skills education of every child. And so what do we need to teach our children? What are the personal safety rules? So I'll just share this. These are so the personal safety rules at Enfold. We have divided the personal safety rules into 3 types of rules. So we have the clothing rule, we have the touching rule, and we have the talking or communication rule. So for the clothing rule, we say that we keep the private parts of our body covered in front of others. So I keep my private parts of the body covered in front of others or in public, and others need to keep their private parts covered in front of me. That is a clothing rule which we have to teach. What is the touching rule? The touching rule says we don't touch private parts of our bodies in front of others. In front of others or in public, I don't touch my private part, and others should not touch their private parts when I am with them. So this is the touching rule. And what is the talking or communication rule? It says that I do not talk about private parts or private things in public. I can talk about these things. I can talk about my private parts. I can talk about private things with my safe adults and in private. In public, no. Even when the child is talking to a safe adult, it should not be in public. It has to be done in privacy, in a private place, so that others don't hear us. That is the talking rule. And talking is only for specific purposes, for health, safety, and clarification. So we teach our children to, if they need help, if they need help for any health reasons or for safety reasons, or they need information and clarification, they can talk about private parts and private things. But we as adults, we do talk about sex and private parts of the body in public. And how do we do it? We share non-veg jokes. We make fun of private body parts. We make fun of private behaviors. We talk in a disrespectful way. What are we doing? That is not okay. What we have done here is we have associated shame and blame and guilt or slang words with all the private parts. If the children hear this, what message do they get? They get the wrong message. So we have associated dirt, chi, kanda, and shame with the private parts, which is very, very wrong. So talking is always in a respectful manner for health, safety, and clarification. And we follow these rules for ourselves, and we follow all these rules for others. So these are the 3 personal safety rules which we can teach our children. The ways to teach these rules will differ again, and it can be taught through various ways. So, yeah. So, when we talk about touches, we have all of us must have heard about good touch and bad touch. So what we recommend, what we at Enfold recommend is please do not use the words good touch and bad touch with touching the body parts, private parts, or the general body parts, because good and bad, these are very ambiguous and they are subjective to settings and personal understanding. Good touch for something which is unsafe is, if we say that it is good or bad, there's a lot of ambiguity, and there's a lot of, the meaning will change according to settings, according to the context, and according to personal understanding. Something which is good, or some touch which is good for an adult is unsafe for a child. So we recommend we all use safe touch and unsafe touch. What is safe touch? Safe touch is a touch which makes you feel comfortable. It makes you feel comfortable, which makes you feel okay, which is safe, and it follows the safety rules. What are the safety rules? The clothing rules, touching rules, and talking rules. I should not touch my private parts. Others should not touch my private parts. I cannot touch others' private parts. That is safe touch, and it has to make you feel comfortable. And what is unsafe touch? Anything which makes you feel uncomfortable, anything that you don't like. A child does not like being touched on the shoulder. For him, even touching on the shoulder becomes unsafe. That is okay. So anything which makes me feel uncomfortable, which is wrong and which is against the rules, it makes me feel bad. That is unsafe. Okay. So this we use it because sexual touches, touching the private parts, it usually makes a person feel good because of the nature of these private parts. They have a lot of sensitivity and a lot of nerve endings. So if touched in a particular way, it feels good. So but it is unsafe. Touching a child in the private parts by somebody who is not a safe adult is unsafe. But if it is making the child feel good, then he doesn't understand. There's confusion. So just to make it clear that it is safe and unsafe, we don't use the words good touch and bad touch. All right. So what do we teach in the personal safety rules? We tell our children to say no. Teach your children to say no. We all have to teach our children to say no. Accept it. Accept when they say no. So say no if you feel something wrong is happening to you. Somebody is touching you in an unsafe way. Say no. Stop. No, go, tell is the rule. So say no, go away from that place and tell a safe adult. I'm using the word safe adult repeatedly. Why am I not using the word parent or a mother or a father or a teacher? I'm using the word safe adult because it can be a parent who is abuser. It can be any adult. It can be a teacher, a trainer. They also can be abusers. But a safe adult is a person who follows the safety rules for themselves and with others. That is a safe adult. And you can identify safe adults for the child. In school, identify a safe adult, 2 safe adults in the school, 2 safe adults at home. Identify them and teach your child that if you need help, if you need to ask questions about your private parts, go to this person in school, go to this person at home. All right? So these are all the points that we can keep in mind about our attitude as an educator or as a parent. Because I've already talked about this, develop comfort with the topic of sexuality, educate and empower yourself. Learn as much about the disability and the educational strategies which you can use. So first, educate yourself, and then use teachable moments that arise daily at home or school. So for parents, all the more teachable moments that arise during your daily routine, while bathing the child, while helping the child during their toileting or dressing up, take those teachable moments and teach them. What can you teach them? Teach them the names of their body parts. Knowing the names of the body part is the part of sexuality education. When the parents ask what to teach, start with naming the body parts and use words and use terms which are scientific and which are anatomically correct. Do not use colloquial words or nicknames for private body parts, both for boys and girls. Because if we do not give them the vocabulary, give them the correct names, then what will they talk about? Give them the names which is acceptable. And if there is any term or word or scientific word for the private part in your local language, teach that. But it is good to teach the child in a language which is universally accepted, like English. English is accepted in all schools. Most of the people know the names of the body parts, private body parts in English. So you can teach the terms like penis, vagina, vulva, bottoms, buttocks. All these terms you can teach your children. If you don't feel comfortable, use potty place, susu place, something like this which is clear. Don't use words like flower, this is a flower, this is kanti, tota. I've heard of so many words being used for naming the body parts. Don't use that. So use the right words. And so teach the names of the body parts. Make your child independent in self-care. That is very, very much important. All right. So these are some points. And when to start, when to impart, start as early as possible, but it's never too late to start. And as and when the situation arises, if there is some certain situation where you feel that you need to teach a child, take that opportunity and start teaching your child. And who can support? The parents, caregivers, older siblings, they can support the youngster or the child with disabilities, and preferably of the same sex. I'm saying this because most of the time the primary caregiver or the educator or the person who is doing the intervention at home is a mother. Even for grown-up boys, even for adolescent boys, it is the mother who has to deal with everything. A mother teaching a boy about sexuality, about masturbation, it might not be so comfortable, it might not be so natural. It is okay. It is okay to do that, but it is always preferred that for boys, it is the father, and for girls, it is the mother. All right, so I insist all the fathers to get involved in this. They might have a lot of other things to do, but please do take out more time and get involved in this, especially dealing with sexuality issues for your children, for boys. And then we can have teachers, trainers, therapists. Again here, same sex for boys and girls, it is good. We can have medical professionals who can support, and we can also have higher functioning peer educators. So they also can support in the sexuality education of the younger children. Then, now, what to teach? Firstly, work on the self-esteem and body positivity of your child. Work on making your child feel happy about themselves, feel valued, self-value, self-esteem, self-confidence. Improve that. Work on that. A happy child, a confident child will learn anything that you teach. Start with that. Then naming the body parts. Then teach independent self-care, personal hygiene. Start as early as possible. For children, for young children, what you can do, even for older children, instead of directly touching their bottoms or touching their skin while bathing, what you do is apply soap on their hands, hold their hands, and move it for them. So help and support the child in by holding their hand, but the skin to skin contact can be theirs only. Try to avoid direct skin to skin contact between the adult and the child. So this has to be done, and this can be done in school as also and at home also. Then after this, what do we teach? Physical changes that come in the body. When the child is growing up, all the changes in the body which happens during puberty. Changes in the body, in the behavior, voice changes, emotions, all that. No, but we can start with changes in the body. Then what else can we teach? Personal space and boundaries. And then, okay, how to seek help. That is what I spoke about when I spoke about safe adult. So how to seek help? We identify safe adults. We take pictures of them, stick in the me book of the child. Make a me book for every child. And in that, have a page which says my safe adults at home. 2 pictures. So this is my mama, grandma, grandfather, grandmother, father, mother, or brother. Take pictures of 2 people who are safe adults for them at home. Stick them. If you need help, you can go to them. That is how we teach them. Same for school also. 2 teachers, it can be a helper or it can be somebody who supports the child in cleaning up, and some teacher who can teach the child or train the child. And then emotional self-regulation and building relationships, these also need to be worked on. So, message to all the parents, it is important to remove shame and respect from sexual and reproductive organs. Your sexual organs are sexual organs. They don't have respect in them just like that. And nothing will happen. The shame does not go away if something happens to the sexual organs. If a child or a person gets raped, it's not the child's or the body organs shame or blame. It's the person, it's the perpetrator's blame or shame. If a child or an adolescent engages in some socially inappropriate behavior, avoid shaming or blaming. Don't make your child feel guilty. Control yourself. Control your body language. Do not punish or reprimand the child. Maintain a calm and a positive body language, and then teach your child that yes, it is not okay to do this here. Let us go in the bedroom. We can talk about this later. All right. And whenever a child is asking you questions, do not silence the child. We'll talk about this later when you and me are alone, and then later talk about it. Always promise, whenever you say that you will teach the child, you'll talk about something, or you'll answer the child's question, always follow that. I think the time is 1 hour is done. Can I go on or should I wind up now? Because I would like to know from you, ma'am, Rita ma'am, what should I do?
Maybe you can take extra 5 minutes. That's okay.
Sure. So much, ma'am. So I'll just within 5 minutes, I'll just wind up. Because some strategies and some tips for the parents, which I wanted to talk about. So all of us, the first thing, all of us have to be good role models. So whatever we want the child to follow, whatever rules the child needs to follow, we ourselves have to follow those. Many parents, even teachers, they feel that the child has intellectual disability, the child is not watching, the child will not understand, and they change their clothes, they dress up, they undress, or even take bath with the child naked. Do not do that. If you want your child to follow clothing rules or touching rules, follow the same with the child. Our children need a longer time to learn something. So don't confuse your child by doing it yourself and you say, no, you cannot do. To follow the rules yourself and be good role models. And then for adolescents, especially for adolescents, this is applicable to young children also. include a lot of physical activities at home and school. Lot of physical activities, sports, walking, or no, it can be any movement activity, dance, so that you engage them physically and you tire them out. So if it is an adolescent who feels like touching himself or who feels like masturbating whenever he's feeling bored, no, he doesn't have the time to do that. He's engaged in so many things. The body hormones, the hormones which are there, they get regulated, and that will act as a deterrent to touching themselves or for masturbation also. And whenever talking about anything which is on personal safety and sexuality, always keep your tonality, your voice tone, body language, and non-verbal communication positive and neutral. Use neutral voice tones. It might happen that whenever you say the name of the private part, you might feel that you might lower down your voice or tone might change, or you might not feel comfortable. So your body might express that. But in front of your child, you show that you are confident. Answer their questions confidently and at their level. Answer their questions at their level. Repeat. Our children need a lot of repetitions and consistency in teaching. So use consistency and a lot of repetitions whenever you teach something. And use visual strategies and tools and multisensorial learning. So for teaching all these sexuality concepts, you can use visual strategies and visual tools and visual aids. You can use videos, you can use dolls, or you can use picture postcards. So a lot of things can be used. And then we can use modeling and demonstration. Modeling and demonstration can be used even for teaching menstruation or changing sanitary napkins, managing menstruation, as well as masturbation. So this can be used. Then for everything, give clear black and white rules and use role play and body learning. Reinforce every positive behavior that your child does. Be appreciative, appreciate them, encourage them, and do it very honestly. Because yes, we have to make our children feel appreciated. You followed rules, that's smart. If they make some mistakes, ignore that. You can talk about it, but in a very positive way. Okay, so how you talk to a child, how you talk to an adolescent, that matters. It always has to be encouraging and it has to be positive. Regarding sexuality or education also, it can be done. So, okay. Now we can also practice what if situations. So all these are examples with probable situations which the child may need help in during adolescence. So we can practice a lot of what if situations. And then talking about managing menstruation for grown-up girls. So menstruation is a part of natural growing up of all teens. So we have to teach about maintaining hygiene. We have to teach about what to expect. We have to teach them how to change their sanitary napkins. For that, you can use social stories and you can use visual aids like these puppets. You see, these puppets are here, and then we have given a lot of materials in the kit that it can be used, or you can make your own materials, your own visual materials. Then this is the most important topic and the last one which I'll be talking about. It is about masturbation or self-stimulation in public. So masturbation or self-stimulation, we all have to understand that it is normal and it is a natural part of a child's behavior or our sexuality and a normal part of the growing up of a child. So it's a normal part of the development of a child. The only rules that we have to teach is the rules for privacy and safety. So if you see that a child is indulging in it in public, what do you do? What we can do is we can engage the child or we can distract the child. Engage the child in something which is very meaningful. Engage the child or the adolescent in some physical activity, sports, music, dance, to try to distract. But that is the first point. And then there is a point which says provide me time, private time or private space to the child. and state the rules that it is okay to touch your private parts, but only in private when you are in your bedroom at night. No, daytime is for all the activities, daytime is for learning, daytime is for so many other things. If you want to touch yourself, only at night, in your room, in private, and when there is nobody else in the room. So the rules, we have to state the rules. It is okay, not now, in private. And repeatedly teach them the hygiene and safety rules. Do not blame or shame or punish. And use personalized visual materials and social scripts to teach this. So, yeah. All right. So these are a few materials that I wanted to share with you. This is a Suvidha Suraksha kit that we have developed, and it comes with a manual. And we have a lot of materials. All these materials can be created by the parents and teachers. All these materials I had created on my own, and later on we manufactured it, with the printers, and the artists have illustrated. So what we use is a lot of pictures. We use a lot of flashcards. We use a lot of sequences. We can have sequences of masturbation. We can have sequences of toileting, of washing hands, which can show the child visually what to do, what not to do. And then we can have a lot of interesting activities to teach them the body changes and the body parts, naming the body parts. So these are a few of the activities. And then we also have, on the left-hand side, you see these are the pictures for masturbation for boys and girls both. Masturbation is a process which both boys and girls do, and it is normal and natural for them to do it. So we have the books. We have a lot of social scripts in the kit, which are on various topics, which the teachers and the parents can use. And we provide the trainings also. We provide the sensitization sessions also. And if you have any queries or any questions and you want to seek some help, you want to contact me and seek some help regarding your child or any situation that comes to you, then you can always reach out to me on these numbers. So these are the numbers of Enfold Proactive Health Trust. I'll be happy to share this with you, with Rita ma'am also, so you can all take my number and the number of Enfold and reach out to us whenever possible. So I hope I have covered everything and given you some little bit of information. This the topic, and everything is so vast. I tried to make it concise and give you a little bit of everything. So hope we all start teaching our children in the way that we learn, and with a lot of positivity and understanding and compassion. Our children can learn. It's just that we need to understand how they learn and teach them the way that they can. And first of all, let us start working on ourselves. Let us be comfortable with the topic, and the children will learn it from us. They learn it. They learn everything. So this is also a part of their learning. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Any questions? Any questions if they are there? So would you like to share?
Thank you, Renu ma'am. And I think you have touched lots of, which is very sensitive. And I can see just the chat box is empty, because we know how uncomfortable we feel talking these. And so the only one thing I would like to have noted down, and I think I am like, my heartbeat is inclusion. And when she says our children are not included because we don't train them in a socially acceptable behavior. So I think this is a very, very important part. And after this, I think parents and teachers will be getting all of them trained. I have already seen personally all this full kit. It had come to our office, and it is a wonderful, wonderful tool. Thank you, Renu, for developing that. And more than that, it is for our Indian children. It's all Indian pictures. Everything is so beautifully done. And I really appreciate. So you will be getting the note from us, and all those who are getting trained. So we are going to arrange proper training in Asha Kiran, and I'll be waiting for your response. And now, if there is any few more questions, you don't mind staying back, but you feel free to. Maybe Sugandhi can help reading few questions.
Yes, ma'am. So far, there's been no questions posted.
I think Kasturi has got a question.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, hello.
Actually, hello. This is a nice session, but I just want to know that what is the exact age that we should start teaching them about the sexuality and this? What is means the early?
Okay. So if you have a neurotypical child, when do you start teaching them the safety rules? Safety rules for anything.
Not the safety rules.
Yeah.
Safety rules we have. I also teach my child from very young age, like from 6 or 7 years, like that.
Okay.
But about the sexuality means about this menstruation and masturbation and all these things.
Yes,
Regarding
yes.
this, when we should talk talk with them, what is the exact age? Means right age should be.
All right, ma'am. So not sexuality or personal safety, any safety rules. What about naming the body parts? When do we start? When have you started, or when do you think we should start? Our children can learn the naming of the body parts.
That should be from the very young age, means from 4 to 5 when they started understanding everything.
Yeah. So that is my answer. You have no yourself answer your question. So if the children can be taught head, eyes, nose, lips, mouth, shoulders, fingernails, eyebrows, everything we teach our children, not just the children with disabilities or non-disabled children. If we can teach them the names of, starting with the names of their body parts, including the private parts. Private parts are not different, are not a different part of the body. They do not need a specific education. When we teach them that this is my hand, so yes, these are my private parts. All the parts of my body which are covered by underwear or swimsuit are private parts. That is all children have to learn. And we can teach them the names of the private parts, or susu place, potty place. These are my private parts. All right. So starting with the naming of the body parts, that is where sexuality education begins. And after that, taking care of themselves, washing off after potty, taking bath on their own. So independent self-care skills also we can start with these at a very young age. So like I explained to you, you can apply soap on the child's hand, and when the child is taking a bath, hold the child's hand and make him or her rub his body. That is how you can start with. And this, I think, even a child who is 2 or 3 years old, if he does not have a physical disability, they can start learning this. If the child can learn to eat, definitely they can learn to bathe themselves or even clean after potty. So this is taking care of themselves, of their private private needs like self-care. This is also a part of the sexuality education. And as they grow up, so if you see that the child has started showing body changes at the age of 8 or 9, at that time you can start teaching them the body changes and the functions of the body parts. So as they grow older, you can keep adding on new things, new topics too, for them to learn. All right. So sexuality education has to begin from a young age. Sexuality education is not just learning about menstruation or about masturbation. It is about a lot of things about our private parts, how to take care of ourselves. And for girls, now since you have asked, for girls, before their period begins, or usually the period, girls have periods around 11 or 12, but these days girls get it even younger, at a younger age. So we can start around 9 or 10 years of age, and we can start teaching girls how to use the sanitary pads in their panties, to keep the sanitary pads in their panties. So we use desensitization. So before the menstruation starts, we can make our children learn, our girls learn to keep the pads in the panties. So learning to do that can start before the menstruation. So once they start the menstruation, they have learned to keep it there. Otherwise, most of the girls, when the menstruation starts, they don't handle the sanitary napkin. They just take it out and they just throw it away. They have sensitivity issues. It makes them feel discomfort. that desensitization or conditioning can happen before menstruation begins. But masturbation, that can start once you see that there are signs. Once the child or the adolescent has erections and ejaculation, at that time, if you see that the child or the adolescent is doing masturbation, at that time you can start teaching them the rules. But the rules about clothing touching can be taught much before. We keep our private parts covered in front of others. We don't touch our private parts in front of others. We don't talk about it. So all these we can start at a younger age. To start slowly, gradually, and consistently. Do it consistently. All right.
I
Thank
have
you,
a
ma'am. Thank you.
request with some of the daddies and the men. I think you should, we all know that, especially the people or the children with disabilities, boys are more than the girls.
Yeah.
But there are more teachers who are female than the men. So I'm so happy to see some of the men are here, and soon you will be getting, I want some of the men to be trained and help these young boys and even the children and dads. I always hear from dads, oh, I'm too busy. I leave early in the morning, come. Thank you, Renu, for every time I hear this. When we tell them at least for their self-help training.
Exactly.
So please take it very, very seriously. If I just straight away tell you don't respect your child, you will fire me. But that is one of the way we disrespect our children.
Absolutely agree, ma'am.
That is one of the ways we disrespect our children. So please take it very, very seriously. Again, I repeat, you will be getting the Google Forms and soon we will be starting the training. It is a 17 hours online training. And then with the kit, we will be introducing and it will be a part of the curriculum. We want our children to be included, happy children and young people in the society. So thank you, Renu, one more time for giving your time. And you could just see the passion she's talking and with the confidence. She's a mom. She's a teacher. And so we really, really appreciate that. And can you just say a big thank you to her by waving your hands, maybe? Just say big thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
much, everyone.
much. And we really appreciate.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all your love and the opportunity to talk to you and share a few of my personal learnings as a parent also. So ma'am said that, no, I'm talking so confidently and so openly and, with a smile. And it's not been many years. It's been only 6 years since I've been working in this field, and I started training from day one or from the first year. So if I can talk about it, if I can understand this, you all can. It's not that, no, I am equipped with something which is special. That is why I'm talking about it or sharing things with you. So even, so you all can do that. It's just that the first step towards understanding that, yes, it is important. It is something which is so normal and natural. My body, this is my body. If I can't talk about my body parts, which are so essential, so sensitive, then there's no point in being educated, especially with our children. We know that they need extra support. So this is an essential part of all the life skills education of all the children. So feel that confidence and start. You can start from day one, right from today. Educate yourself, read about it. And I'm also always there, and Enfold is always there for you. We'll be happy to support you in this journey. So thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you so much, everyone, for this opportunity.
Thank you.